Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Officially half that work week in the rear view mirror. Working towards the weekend. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Dabo Swinney met with the media earlier today. Old Dabo in Clemson. Poor old Clemson. Poor pitiful us. Nobody picking us. We'll see what he has to say coming up in 15 minutes. We'll see what he has to say. I am fascinated by Dabo's press conferences these days, and that comes as somebody who y'all know is not glued to press conferences, but his job security is interesting to me because he is a legendary figure at Clemson, and nobody thinks he's going to get this figured out. I have not talked to anybody who thinks that Dabo Swinney is going to correct course after Clemson's lost 4 games each of the last 3 years, 6 last year, and get this thing moving forward. Nobody. And he knows that and doesn't seem to care. So we'll get into some of that in 15 minutes from what he had to say. LSU and Clemson inside 3 weeks away. We're going to, over the course of the next week and change, about 2 weeks before we get to game week, knock out all the freshmen in LSU's signing class this past year. Lane Kiffin had an abbreviated run to try to get these guys in the boat, and so it's not as extensive as some of the classes we have done in the past or will do in the future. But every year about this time, we run a segment called Meet the Freshmen. Let's start it now.
Meet the Freshmen. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
You know, when we started that drop back in 2021, it was true they were the newest Tigers on the team. Now, there's a lot of new Tigers on every team with the transfer portal, but it still works because the Flintstone theme song's weaved in there, and it's fun and it's cool with Cade made it. So I like to use it. Sue me. Don't sue me. But I like to talk about the freshmen, so we'll do it now. And we'll start with Deuce Geralds, who I think might be the best freshman on the team. He might not be the best player in this class in 2 years, but I think he is today. And he was a great high school find when LSU got him. His story is an interesting one because his dad played at Ole Miss. Y'all may not know that. But he didn't come to LSU because Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss for LSU. In fact, he had committed to LSU when Lane Kiffin was the head coach at Ole Miss. Why would an Ole Miss legacy who's from the state of Georgia commit to LSU? Well, his dad played at Scotlandville and went to Ole Miss. So his family has deep ties here in the Baton Rouge area, and he wanted to be here. Now, Geralds is not quite as highly regarded as Richard Anderson or Lamar Brown, but he's close. ESPN called him the number 2 defensive tackle in the country. 24/7 called him the number 4 defensive tackle in the country. He had offers from Ohio State, Oregon, Ole Miss, where he's a legacy, Alabama, Oklahoma, and he chose LSU. Now, he's 6'1", 279 pounds, which is not as physically imposing as Lamar Brown, not as physically imposing as Richard Anderson. But listen to what Deuce Geralds did in his high school career. A lot of you are aware he was working with the ones in the spring, working with the ones in the fall, know he has a chance to start the first game. You're aware of Deuce Geralds. Are you aware of what he did in his high school days? He is Georgia's all-time high school sack leader. Do you know how good the football is in the state of Georgia? You could make a strong argument it's the best in the nation. Now, Florida will push back, and Texas will push back, and California will push back, and that's all fine and good. But Georgia is as good as any. And Deuce Geralds is the all-time state of Georgia high school sack leader. Last year, as a senior, 37 TFLs and 16 sacks from a defensive tackle spot. If you take those 16 sacks and add his 45 hurries, 61 quarterback pressures for Deuce Geralds last year from the interior of the defensive line. Braylon Moore talked about him this week. He said, that dude's bag is endless. Deuce Geralds did not win solely in high school at the point of attack because he was bigger and stronger than everybody he faced. 6'1", 279 is a big boy, but it's not Richard Anderson. It's not 6'3", 330. He wins because he's strong, low to the ground, grew up in a football family, and knows how to play the position. And I think Deuce Gerald's is going to have a monster career at LSU. And I think it's going to start in the starting lineup against Clemson. That's my projection for Deuce Gerald's. I think he's going to be great. Now, whether or not you can do that for extended snaps as a freshman remains to be seen. And you're going to have Malik Blockton, Stephylon Green, Don McKinley, Richard Anderson. All those guys are going to have to take snaps. But I think Gerald's is going to get as many snaps as any of them, because I think he's going to be really, really, really good. He'll be in there early and often. So I wanted to start this freshman class with Meet the Freshman with Deuce Gerald's. We'll do 2 every day. Second on today, and these are in no particular order after Deuce Gerald's, who I wanted to do first. Corey Barber. Corey Barber's a wide receiver. Hails from Trussville, Alabama. And this is a player that Lane Kiffin identified early. You will hear Lane Kiffin a lot over his time at LSU, whether that's 18 years or 3. You'll hear him talk about his confidence in the valuation of players. He and Billy Glasscock feel like they really do a good job of identifying traits and putting together teams. And it's not always 5 stars. Sometimes it will be. And sometimes it'll be 3 stars. Not always Louisiana kids. Sometimes it will be. Sometimes it won't be. But Corey Barber is a wide receiver that Kiffin identified early on. And he got his commitment at Ole Miss. And when Kiffin left Ole Miss for LSU, Barber flipped. Now, after that, Rivals gave Corey Barber a 5th star. They ranked him the number 3 wide receiver in the entire class of 2026. As a senior at Clay Chalkville High School, Corey Barber had 68 catches for 1,130 yards and 14 touchdowns. Now, he is not the biggest or the fastest receiver. He's only 6 feet tall. He can't run quite like Phillip Wright. I don't know that he quite has the suddenness of Trey Wilson. But when you watch the tape of Corey Barber, his fluidity and his ability to get open and then make guys miss after he gets the ball become very obvious. And those are all big-time keys to what Lane Kiffin's trying to do. So I'm going to absolutely and implicitly trust Lane Kiffin's offensive evaluation. I think he knows what he wants in receivers. When he got to LSU, one of the first things he did was look at the class of wide receivers that was already committed to LSU and had some conversations. You know what I'm saying? And Corey Barber's a guy that they identified and they wanted at Ole Miss, and now they certainly wanted at LSU. Now, what does he do as a freshman? I don't think there's room for Corey Barber in the end as a freshman. As I mentioned in the last segment of the first hour, Jace Brown, Trey Wilson, Trey Brown, Jackson Harris, Malik Elzy, Winnie Watkins, Phillip Wright. There's a lot of dudes at wide receiver that are going to garner some playing time. And I don't think that LSU's intent on playing 7 or 8 guys. But Barber needs to get in, learn the offense, and showcase the tools that Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock saw that said, hey, we got to bring this guy in. And Rivals saw him too. 5 stars, no joke. Number 2 wide receiver in the country, number 3 wide receiver in the country is no joke. But it's not because he's 6'6" or runs a 4.3 or set the state record for career receiving yards. There's just something about his ability to run routes, hands, and making guys miss after the catch that Kiffin really, really enjoyed. So I think of the 2 today, Deuce Gerald's, I expect to have a huge impact on this team right away. Corey Barber, it would surprise me if he had a huge impact on this team right away. I think he's probably a year away. But look, there are a lot of guys that are going to move on from this receiver group after this year. Playing time should be abundant. Let's meet the freshman. Day number 1, Deuce Gerald's, big-time defensive tackle from the state of Georgia. Corey Barber, big-time wide receiver from the state of Alabama. We'll get into 2 more guys tomorrow, and we'll continue on, I think, till next Thursday is when we run out of freshmen. It's not a long list of freshmen in this class. I think they only had 18 or so kind of 9 days of content as we move forward here on Meet the Freshman. All right, hour number 2 here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Step aside, we'll come back. We'll hear from Dabo. What do you have to say next?
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at highlandig.com. That's highlandig.com. Jonathan Carbo and his team, happy to help you out with your group and employee benefits. He's great at that. But they're also thrilled to help you out with property and casualty. This is the time of year where you got to make sure your property policies are in good shape. Have to. Make sure your building valuations are properly done. Make sure your deductible is within the appetite for your risk. Make sure you're not going to incur co-insurance penalties. Don't want that at all. Make sure that your buildings are properly rated and all the information is right on your applications, and that you're not going to get hit with an uncovered claim or penalties because you tried to cut corners on the premium side. The Howard Insurance Group has teams of experts that know what they need to look at in this part of the world to make sure that your building is properly covered and that your business interruption limit is where it needs to be. If you can't work because of weather incident.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge, swingeasygcbr.com. That's swingeasygcbr.com. Go by and see him. Segan at Perkins, Swing Easy Golf Club. Great spot. Go hang out and play golf a little bit different way. Sometimes you're a beginner and don't want to go out there for 5 hours, wait, lose golf balls. Just not an enjoyable way until you get up to speed to play golf. Well, go to Swing Easy. Go in one of those private bays. I promise you won't lose a golf ball. Just hit it and it bounces right back to you. And you can take as many mulligans as you want. You can practice your game there at Swing Easy, or you can play on their incredible simulator with all the courses that are available, whether it's Pebble Beach or where they give you that green jacket in April. Got that. The old course of St. Andrews. And you can play 18 holes of golf. You hit your tee shots, you hit your iron shots, chips, putts, the whole 9 yards. And it's a lot quicker and a lot cooler than playing outside. So if you're a beginner and want to get into some golf but not sure how to start that, go by Swing Easy. It's a great place under a controlled environment to learn how to play the game to a little bit. You can bring friends or go by yourself if you want to. It's Swing Easy Golf Club. They're right there, Segan at Perkins, online at swingeasygcbr.com. All right, Dabo Swinney met with the media there in Clemson, South Carolina today, and I was going over some of those sound bites before we got into the show. And there was a lot of discussion about the Clemson offense. Of course, last year, had Cade Klubnik back, they were feeling like they were going to be a really dynamic offense, and they really were not. Now, they weren't as bad as LSU offensively, but Clemson finished 64th in the country when it comes to total offense. And I was looking up their scoring offense earlier. Let's see where they ranked in that category, because it was not pretty either. 72nd in the country in scoring offense. For out of your curiosity, where did that rank in the ACC in scoring offense? They were 11th behind the likes of Wake Forest, Virginia in scoring offense. So it was a bad year offensively for Clemson, and they decided to go out and do what Dabo does. Try to go back in time. Make sure what you're doing was really cool in 2013 and 14. So they went and they hired Chad Morris. But let's first hear about that disappointing offensive season last year.
You know, people look at last year and, you know, it's a tough year for us, but it's an outlier. It's a bad chapter in a great book that's been written, in a great journey, but it's a part of the journey. But it's not. You look. We've had lots of ups and downs, but man, it's all good. It really is. I'm grateful. I've tried to just always stay present in the moment that I'm in. That's really how I kind of live my life, because you get overwhelmed quick if you try to do it other way. I'm engaged. I'm present. It's a lifestyle now, and I'm just grateful to be here. Grateful for another season and an opportunity to go compete and represent Clemson.
I simply can't take him seriously. I realize that he's got 2 national championships, is millionaire times and times over, and I sit here and yap into a microphone from 1 to 3 in Baton Rouge. Like, that is the most ridiculous answer I've ever heard. And like, yeah, well, we were awesome in offense for a while there. We had Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins, CJ. We were awesome on offense. Well, last year we weren't, but I'm just grateful. I'm going to put my feet in the same place. It's just, I can't take him seriously with wacko answers like that. But let's see if we can get a little bit more in depth and see if we can get a little bit more direct with hiring Chad Morris for the second time.
First of all, you hate to have to make changes and things like that from time to time, but what we're doing didn't work. And, that's my responsibility to fix it. And you're dealing with smart and qualified people, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So that was a decision I had to make there. And then, well, which direction you want to go? Well, timing is everything. And it just worked out.
Timing is everything. It worked out because Chad Morris ran some offenses that didn't score a lot of points and then took a year off to watch his kid play and was unemployed. So we said, hey, come on to Clemson and call our offense like you did 10 years ago. It's kind of the sense there. But look, Dabo's got answers for those who don't like to hire Chad Morris, who, again, hasn't run a really good offense in quite some time, because apparently people didn't like it when they hired him the first time. He's talking about Chad Morris the first time they brought him into Clemson, which ended up being a really, really good move for the program.
And then I brought in Chad Morris. And this guy, Chad Morris, was coming in. And first of all, when it got public that I was bringing this guy in, it wasn't how exciting we're bringing in. No, it was a wave of criticism. I mean, I even had a senator call me and tell me I should be fired if I hired this guy and not this guy. It was a wave of criticism.
Wow. Senator phone calls. That's what I really like about politicians who decide they're going to make phone calls about offensive coordinator hires. So I'm sure that politician has got a real good concept of spreading the field, winning the numbers game on the boundary, making sure you got that protection slid to one side. I'm sure that the senator was all over that. But yeah, pick up the phone and call Clemson's football coach. That's brilliant. And I appreciate that for Dabo for bringing that up. But the question is, why did you bring him back? It was good to hire the first time, but maybe past his prime. Why again?
And just like 2011, he wasn't a real popular hire. He wasn't real popular. Sometimes you got to go back to go forward. And so we're going to run it back. And, I think we're going to have a lot of success, and I think he's here for a while. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch us get this offense back where it needs to be.
That's the Dabo Swinney right there that people are leery of. The Dabo Swinney that goes, everybody's doing this and saying this. Everybody's using their transfers, and everybody's worried about NIL. And at Clemson, we're not. We're not worried about transfers. We're not worried about NIL. We've won a lot of games this way, so we're going to do it this way. We're going to go hire this offensive coordinator because he was really good in 2012, 2013, and people didn't like him then. Well, they don't like him now, so we'll just go do that again. And he's going to be here for a long time. Well, he's going to be here for a long time because Arkansas hired him to be their head coach, and he won as many games as this Raising Cane dog sitting in front of me, which is 0. He was Bagel at Arkansas. And then he's gone and run some offenses that hadn't been very good. But this is Clemson. I'm going to do it this way. This is my way. This way won national championships. So you don't worry about me changing. I'm just going to do it the way that works. And we'll see if it works. Blake Baker's team's going to be ready for him. They certainly didn't do much against him last year. We'll see about this year. Now, this is a shifting gears here in what he wants out of his defense, which is losing some significant playmakers to the NFL draft, especially on the front line.
We got to play pass defense. It's just really that simple. We got to play pass defense. We did a lot of good things last year, and we need to build on that. We did some good things. We got better in a lot of areas, really. Honestly, if you really just statistically look at us, there were a bunch of areas that we made some improvements in year one, but we were horrible in pass defense.
It was not good in pass defense. Clemson was 11th in the ACC in yards per game allowed. If you want to look at touchdown passes that Clemson allowed, it was not pretty. Teams got over on them pretty good with 18 touchdown passes through the air, and it was a bad pass defense. Now, that wasn't evident when LSU played them because LSU couldn't throw the ball and the quarterback was crippled at that point. But it was not a good Clemson pass defense, and they got a lot early in the year. We thought when LSU won that game against Clemson that, hey, this team's on to something because Clemson's going to be really good. And then you saw Clemson play the next couple of weeks, and you started looking and going, oh, no, are they not good? Because that would really not be great. And all of a sudden we knew that neither of those teams were great football teams when they took the field on Labor Day weekend there in Clemson, South Carolina. But Clemson's defense was not very good. And so Dabo was asked, what does he think this defense can be.
To where people have to line up and try to run the ball on you. And if we can be what I think we can be up front, I like our guys. I mean, I like our team. We gotta do the football stuff a lot better on all areas in our program, not just defense, but the biggest thing is just the big plays, the explosives, those kill you.
I'm curious about the running the ball thing as well, because that is going to be my biggest watching point when LSU and Clemson play each other in 2.5 weeks. Can LSU create space and run the football with some holes? Because I don't have any question of whether or not Dylan Jones, Harlan Berry, and Caden Durham are talented enough to run the ball. They are. They are talented enough to do that. But if they don't have any space, then they won't. Because Dylan Jones didn't run for a lot of yards last year at Wisconsin because they were terrible. And Caden Durham didn't run for a lot of yards at LSU last year because they were terrible. And Harlan Berry didn't run for a lot of yards at LSU last year because he didn't get a lot of touches, and they were terrible. But those three guys are talented enough, if given a chance, to gain yards on the ground. And look, this is a talking point that we'll get into a lot over the next 2.5 weeks. A lot. Because I won't be able to evaluate it at practice in the same way that we were last year in fall camp. But Jordan Seaton was not a great run blocker by the numbers at Colorado. Bo Bordelon has not started for 4 years in this program. Weston Davis had his problems last year at right tackle. There are question marks about this offensive line and what they can do running the football. I am very, very confident in Jordan Seaton and Braylon Moore and Alu Ba pass protecting. And by the nature of those guys being good, I feel good about Bo Bordelon in the middle as well. It's just a question of whether Weston Davis can hold it. In pass blocking, I don't have a lot of questions about LSU's ability. And then Levitt, I think, is going to give you an element of athleticism behind center that allows for some shortcomings of the offensive line and him to make up for that with a little bit of athleticism, which he did at Arizona State a lot. But running the ball is a different story. And if LSU can line up and run the ball on Clemson, I'll feel a lot better. A lot better. Because keep in mind, they didn't beat Clemson last year. They didn't run the ball on Clemson worth a flip. There was one play where Durham spun out at the point of contact at the line of scrimmage and ran for a few yards, but it was not a designed run that was executed well. It was a running back and making a guy miss and busting out the backside of a broken play. You got to run it. And hopefully LSU can run on this Clemson defense. It's going to be interesting. You got a new offensive coordinator on both sides. Charlie Weiss Jr. with Lane Kiffin for LSU, Chad Morris for Clemson. We'll see if either team's able to get their footing in the first game call in this offense with new players. LSU's going to be a little quieter when they're behind center in the huddle rather than Clemson working against this Tiger Stadium crowd that's going to be all over Vizina and Chad Morris and this Clemson offense trying to get acclimated to playing in a real game in one of the most intimidating venues in all of American sports. So we'll see. That's a little sound from Dabo there over in Clemson. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Take a time out. Come back. 30 minutes left to go. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com. That's FabryChevrolet.com. The Fabry family has been at this for 35 years, y'all, in the Baton Rouge area. 35 years, family owned and operated. And it's because they take care of their customers. It's because they understand that customer service is paramount when you're dealing with the people in this community. And there's a reason why they've been at it for 35 years, 3 locations, 5 brands, because you know what you're going to get when you show up. Most people have had a poor experience at a car lot. Pushy salesperson, maybe feel like you're getting taken advantage of or not being told the whole story. It's never going to happen at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They've got awesome deals, and you can find them at FabryChevrolet.com. I've been telling you about their truck specials all month long. They're great. Want a GMC Sierra, want a Chevy Silverado, go see them. They got unbelievable deals. But you're also going to be treated wonderfully while you're there, and that's important. There's great service after the sale. Their service department services all makes and models. So if you're looking for that new SUV, new truck for the new school year, or you want to downsize, maybe get a new lease, Fabry Chevrolet GMC is happy to have you on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. They're online at FabryChevrolet.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Ochsner brings you the Hunt Palmer Show every single day. It's back to school, and as families get ready for back to school season, Ochsner Health is reminding parents success in the classroom starts with overall wellness. Nutrition plays a big, big role, and Ochsner recommends pack those lunches balanced with protein, fruits, vegetables, whole greens, and get kids involved in meal planning so that healthy choices are more appealing to them. If you've got a student athlete in your house, make sure they're prepared with that annual sports physical. Proper hydration is crucial, especially this time of year. Got to do some stretching, get rest, at the right protective equipment. And sports are great. They can help reduce stress, build confidence, improve social skills. It's a great way for kids to stay active and engaged throughout the school year. If you're looking for extended afternoon hours for many of your Ochsner locations, you can make weekend appointments as well. And that provides extra flexibility for busy families balancing school, work, and extracurricular activities. You want more tips for helping your family start the school year healthy and safe? Ready to succeed? Ready? Go to visit ochsner.org/BR. All right, rule changes, which really put a smile on my face yesterday evening when I saw this after I got off the air. Wanted to mention this. One of the most absurd rules in all of American sport is the targeting foul and its ejection that, if in the second half, bleeds over 7 days to the next game in the first half. Just patently absurd. Now, yes, I understand what we're trying to do here, okay? I understand. We're trying to protect people's necks. We're trying to stop getting players paralyzed. We're trying to minimize concussions. That's all really good. But we do have to use some common sense. And when a safety is coming up to hit a running back, and the running back, who's 5'9" as it is, goes down into a ball to brace for the hit, and the safety can't go over the top and has to drop down to the running back's level, and their helmets touch each other, we can't be throwing guys out of the first half a week later. It's absurd. I don't even think they should be ejected. But thankfully, targeting fouls assessed in the second half of a game will no longer require the offending player to sit out in the first half of his team's next game. That is awesome, awesome, awesome news. Now, I know the first time this is called in a stadium, whether it's Tiger Stadium or wherever, the first time this is called, they're going to say targeting in the second half, player is ejected, and everybody's going to freak out and say it's for the next game because nobody's going to pay attention to these stories in August when you're worried about getting your kid's backpack handled. But this is awesome. Now, the targeting penalty change is going to be experimental for 2026. So we'll see whether or not this limits. If the number of targeting fouls does increase, my assumption is they're going to go back to the old way. But if you do get disqualified for targeting for the first time in a season, you may participate in the following game. The trial rule is going to apply regardless of which half the targeting penalty is called. Now, a player who does draw his second targeting foul of the season is going to have to miss the first half of that next game. Get a third targeting foul, you got to sit out the full game. So if you get your first targeting foul, you're out the rest of the game. Might be in the first half, might be with 1 minute left to go. First targeting, you're out the rest of that game no matter how much time there is to go. Second targeting foul, you're out the rest of the game. And you're talking about missing the first half of the next game. So I don't love this. I think there needs to be, just like in basketball, a flagrant 1 and flagrant 2. But this is a step in the right direction. They're trying to do baby steps here so as not to completely change the rule and then have the number of targeting fouls ramp up. They still want to disparage players from the targeting foul, and 15 yards isn't going to do it. Ejection will, so they're going to try. But I've always said, if you are a safety and you come off your feet, launch, crown of the helmet down, and crash into somebody's helmet, you want to eject that player, get him out. Fine. We don't have you got jacked up anymore on NFL primetime. We're not re-showing these highlights on NFL films anymore. Okay, great. You can eject somebody for something egregious. When a guy is on the ground and just so happens to duck his head to brace for contact and helmets touch, ejecting guys, that it drives me nuts. But baby steps. You are ejected for that game. You're not ejected for the first half of the next game. I think that's a positive move in the right direction. The other rule change for this year, penalty for offensive pass interference is being adjusted from 15 yards to 10 yards. The rules reserve 15-yard penalties primarily for personal fouls, unsportsmanlike conduct, all that. And a defensive pass interference is still going to be a spot foul, but a maximum of 15 yards. So what you're looking at here is they're just trying to emphasize 15-yard penalties for the more egregious things. A push-off is not going to be 15 yards anymore. Push-off's going to be 10. F's fine. First and 20. First and 25. 5 yards is a big deal. I think that's okay. The other thing, that head coaches will now have 2 replay challenges per game. If a coach wins at least one of their first 2 challenges, they're awarded a third challenge. And a challenge can only be made if a team has a timeout remaining and available. If it's successful, the team's timeout will not be charged. And I'm curious if that's going to impact the way coaches deploy timeouts. Because if you burn through those timeouts early, we may have a challenge we want to issue on a ball stepped out of bounds or a spot or something that we see, but we can if we don't have any timeouts. It may make you want to use that a little bit more judiciously, because you start playing with timeouts, coaches start paying attention, right? So I think that's a big deal. Another change, coach-to-player communications through the helmet is now permissible for all NCAA divisions. That doesn't matter for LSU. They've still got them. Up to 2 sponsor patches are allowed on your jerseys with conference approval. A third patch is allowed in conference championship games or postseason games. Logos may not exceed 4 square inches. All this stuff is not of super consequence, but we do know that we're entering the era where you've got the patches on the jersey, where you've got one for your brand sponsor, you got one for, for an LSU's case, Woodside Energy, and then if you play in the Sugar Bowl, you'll throw a Sugar Bowl patch on there as well. But the big issues here are the targeting, the challenges, and there's a fair catch rule with kickoffs that if I'll just read it off the page. In a change to align Division I rules with those in the NFL and high school, a team could choose to attempt a fair catch kick after a completed or awarded fair catch. The kick would be a place kick. A holder can drop kick from the spot. Remember, this came into play in the NFL a couple of years ago, where everybody was like really impressed that, I can't remember what team it was, but they knew the rule that you could do that after you fair catch. You're allowed to kick. It's very, very rarely used. I don't anticipate it being used at all in the college game, but it is something that you can be aware of. The defense would be at least 10 yards away from the spot of the kick. So it's something that not teams don't use all that often, but it's something that high school and the NFL have, so college got with it. I'm most concerned here with the targeting stuff because I hate it, but now at least we've stopped the zaniness of guys being ejected for the first half of next year's game. I can't deal with that stuff, so thankfully that's a thing of the past, even though if you do target, you're out for the rest of that game. Just a coincidence whether or not you get it with 10 minutes to go in the first quarter or with 1 minute to go in the second half is what it is. So that's a look at some rule changes here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I want to remind you that we're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. And Joey Blanchard was mentioning to me the other day that he's not just talking to folks about a brand new pool, which he absolutely can, but they also do an awesome job of refurbishing your pool. So if your plaster's fading or it's peeling because you've had your pool for 10 or 15 years, Renaissance Homes and Pools can come in, remove that old plaster, and then reinstall new ones. And they don't have to remove the waterline tile, even though it might be a good time to do that if you're updating the pool. And that new waterline tile and plaster are going to make your pool look brand new. That remodel could expand to decking, pool equipment. You can add automation, controls, heaters, lights, valves. So if you've got a pool currently, but it's getting a little bit older and you want to refurbish it, you want it to look good as new, Renaissance Homes and Pools can do that. New pools, refurbishing pools, also outdoor kitchens. They are happy to help you out with that. Joey Blanchard and his team online at builtbyrenaissance.com, but just text Joey. That's what he tells me is the best way to get in touch with him. He's local right here in Baton Rouge. and he's happy to help you work with him the entire way. Send him a text. Say, hey, I heard about you on Hunt's show. I'd love to start looking about a pool, looking at an outdoor kitchen. He's happy to do it. 225-252-7745. That's 225-252-7745. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com. All right, we're chugging along here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We've only got one more order of business left to go, and that's, of course, take it or leave it. It's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. They're online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That's boudreauxelectrical.com. Get that Generac home standby generator installed sooner rather than later. Don't be reactive. Be proactive. Be prepared for hurricane season. Be prepared for the summer storms that come through here. Give yourself the peace of mind to know I've got that Generac home standby generator. Boudreaux's Electrical Services installed it, and I don't have to worry about losing power today. It's a very, very empowering thing. It's a very comforting thing to know because we've all been there. That storm blows through. You're sitting there in your house. It's hot. It's dark. Fridge won't work. Can't watch TV. Internet's down. It's a tough scene. I've been there. You've been there. Not anymore. Home standby generator from the folks at Generac, courtesy of Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Maybe you already have a Generac home standby generator, but you don't know who to service it. Get the Boudreaux's Boost. Call Neil and Melissa. They've been running this for 40 years. They'll send a local team out to handle your maintenance. 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. I give you the easy way every day. That's boudreauxelectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Shout out to Renaissance Homes and Pools, online at builtbyrenaissance.com, bringing our Wednesday shows each and every day. Been a fun show today. Caught up with Luke Johnson today. Luke's out tomorrow, but going to hopefully run down his colleague Matthew Paris. I'm very, very interested to hear how tomorrow goes, specifically for the Saints offense in the joint practice with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a good defense. Got some standout players there in Jacksonville, and curious to see if the Saints can't find a little bit of consistency. You're not going to see, as Kellen Moore talked today, you're not going to see a lot of starters for the Saints in the preseason games. That's just not something that teams in the NFL do. I think the Bengals are going to put theirs out there a little bit, which they did last year, and it actually potentially helped as they got off to a decent start, and then Burrow got hurt, so it didn't matter. But I don't expect to see the Saints starters, so the only reports we're going to get about that starting offense is going to be from some of these joint practices. They're not everything. I'm not here to put too much significance on it, but we do know that the offense is struggling day in and day out with the Saints defense, and I'd like to see maybe a change of scenery, maybe a defense that doesn't understand the tendencies and plays that aren't as scripted by Kellen Moore and the defensive staff to see how the Saints respond to that, and want to see Tyler Shuck have a really nice day as well. You know, last year they had this joint practice with the Rams that we're told did not go very well. That's to be expected. The Rams were really good. The Saints were really not, especially at that time of year with a first-year head coach and a limited quarterback. So I'm curious to see how it goes. We'll talk to Matthew Paris about that, and I'm excited to get back out there to watch LSU practice. LSU tomorrow will practice at 10:05 a.m., so we'll be out there at 10:05. They'll have us out of there by about 10:25. I'll write up a practice report, and then we'll be back at it here with the practice report on the show pretty quickly after that. So it'll be a busy Thursday with us with the Saints with a big practice in LSU. And what I believe will be full pads, again, is this is a physical week for LSU. They ramp things up. This is the physical portion of practice, and then they'll start to decrease next week before they get ready for Clemson the following week. So just kind of housekeeping stuff for you there for Saints and LSU. That'll be where we focus tomorrow's show for sure. All right, one more order of business today. It's take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, so former NFL quarterback Derek Carr has joined the UCLA staff as a special advisor to head coach Bob Chesney. Carr will assist Chesney and the Bruins offensive staff of game planning while also working with UCLA quarterbacks. So will Derek Carr elevate the UCLA QB room? Take it or leave it?
I mean, can I be honest? Like,
Yeah,
I'll
be honest.
take it. Like,
He
knows how to
He's a
play
professional.
quarterback. He's been a professional quarterback, throwing for a lot of yards. I mean, do I want him to be the Saints quarterback? No.
Hell no.
Do I think he's got a decent job of helping, some college quarterbacks understand a few things? Probably. He's probably going to do it fairly cheap, and the weather's pretty good out there. Like, is this going to make UCLA a contender nationally? No. Do I think he's got a chance to do some positive? Probably. It's not the answer anybody around here wants me to give, but, like, if I'm being honest, like, that's probably a pretty decent resource for them.
No, I'll be honest. Like, it is. I can't take away that he wasn't an NFL quarterback, and I think he made a couple Pro Bowls. So Derek Carr has had success in NFL. You know, I'm just poking a little fun. So Paul Skeens threw just 65 pitches in 5 innings last night against the Marlins, allowing 1 earned run while striking out 4, walking 1, and allowing 5 hits. He never reached 95 mile per hour on any pitch, a trend we've been seeing with his last couple starts. So is Paul Skeens hiding an injury? Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. There's got to be something with his mechanics, but it's terrifying for Pittsburgh because this is their only shot for him to be a stud, and he's not. And Pittsburgh is 6 games out of the wild card. That is completely without they have no shot to make that up, not because you can't make up 6 games in a month and a half, but because they have to pass 1, 2, 3, 4. They have to pass 5 teams. That's just not going to happen. So they need to do everything they can with Paul Skeens to make sure he's healthy. And if they need to run him through an MRI, if he needs to skip 2 starts, they need to figure something out because pushing him through this, throwing 94 miles an hour while they're 6 games out of the wild card, there are only 3 teams in the National League with a worse record than Pittsburgh. So they need to figure it out because he's the golden goose and they got about 2 more years left with him, and then he's going to sign a free agent deal with the Dodgers or Yankees or Red Sox. So you need to figure it out.
All right, so what would you do right here if you were the manager? Would you sit him right now? That's
not the manager's call. The manager can go up there and tell them what they think, but the general manager will tell them what to do.
Okay.
He runs baseball ops, and if it was my
if it's your call.
I would shut him down for 2 starts. I'd bring him back on September 1st, and see what it looks like. And if he's still throwing 94 miles an hour, you're 8 miles an hour off.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. Big problem.
Yeah. All right, so former MVP Russell Westbrook has announced his retirement from the NBA after 18 seasons. The 2017 MVP, 9-time All-Star, 2-time scoring champion. He earned 9 All-NBA selections. So is Russell Westbrook a first-ballot Hall of Famer? Take it or leave it.
Absolutely take it.
I'll take it.
That guy was a force. One of the great athletes in the history of the point guard position. I have not done a good job of going to the Smoothie King Center and seeing some of the great players in the world play. I haven't.
I'm going to see Wemby this year. Got you.
I did see Russell Westbrook in his prime play, and it was something. When I go to Pelicans games, I'm not as cognizant of the score as I am when I go to an LSU basketball game. I'm constantly aware of the score. The NBA, they score so much more, and I'm not as emotionally invested. So, like, all of a sudden I'll look up and go, oh, they're up 9, or oh, they're... But I looked up in the 3rd quarter at one point because Westbrook pulled up and hit another jumper like he had done. And I go, he's got to have like 20 points. Yeah. He had 42.
Oh,
I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, I mean, he was as gifted a point guard as I've ever seen. That's not to say he's the best point guard I've ever seen, but like in terms of his speed, leaping ability, finishing ability.
Or his era.
Yeah, I mean, he was a dynamo at that position.
All right, so last but not least, Tulane dropped these new Mardi Gras uniforms, a new City Edition uniform. So, Mr. Uniform himself, Hunt Palmer, take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
Oh,
I'll take it.
I think they're ugly.
Okay.
But Tulane is not forfeiting some sort of incredible tradition to put these on. Like, I think Tulane in the right gear looks good, but it's not an iconic brand. And if you want to wear goofy Mardi Gras stuff on your wave and have beads on the ears with crazy font and bright colors, be my guest. You're Tulane. Do whatever you need to do. I think it's ugly, but I get it. They're trying to catch attention. You're trying to be relevant. You're not going to be relevant if you put on the normal Tulane jersey, so it's fine.
All right, so that's it for Take It or Leave It.
I don't need Ohio State wearing those. I don't need Bama wearing those.
Ohio State got these, they just dropped these new black ones again. So
awful.
Really? Oh, my.
Awful.
Those are so, oh, my God, Hunt, because you don't like the Georgia black uniforms.
But they don't, Ohio State is not black. They're red and silver.
Yeah. What's it called? Scarlet or something? Whatever?
Yeah. Scarlet and gray.
Yeah. Scarlet. Yeah. Like,
Scarlet and gray.
They have good color schemes. They have great colors. You can't go wrong with Ohio State
uniforms.
colors. Yeah. The
black
white
is not in them.
The white with the silver is classic.
Bad. Tennessee looks awful in black. Just bad. Bad stuff going on. That's it for us on a Wednesday, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Talked to Luke Johnson, a lot of Saints conversation, also my LSU practice report from last night. Hunt on LSU all the time for all our LSU stuff. Look at wherever you find your podcast or YouTube, Hunt on Saints as well. If you miss the entire show and want to catch that, Hunt Palmer Show, find it on demand. We always appreciate you. LSU practice tomorrow. We're talking about it tomorrow. You can read about it at LouisianaSports.net. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further View. I'm out of here. See you tomorrow.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust, FABT.com, FABT.com. 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana. How long did it take them to get to 25 locations? Well, they've been at it 116 years. Kind of figure they know what they're doing at First American Bank and Trust. Whether you're in St. Tammany or Tangipahoa Parish, up I-12, maybe St. James, St. John, Lafourche, Terrebonne down the bayou. If you're in Dutchtown, Jones Creek, just around Baton Rouge, if you're in Metairie, there's a First American Bank and Trust near you. If you need a commercial loan, First American Bank and Trust. Need a personal loan? First American Bank and Trust. Go with the local bank. That doesn't mean the small bank. 25 locations. They've got resources. Go with the local bank, so when you're applying for that loan, it's made by a local decision maker. When you bank with First American Bank and Trust and you call your bank, you're getting someone in Southeast Louisiana, someone that's in your community. It's that local feel at First American Bank and Trust. Find them online at FABT.com or stop in one of their 25 locations.